I'm ready whenever he's ready.
We're ready, Mayor.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. The Special Joint City Council and Park and Community Services Commission for June 18, 2024. Pledge of Allegiance.
We're going to do it again?
Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
We probably didn't need that on there. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Where are all my people?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Clarence Mamarel,
Here.
Commissioner Charles Plummer,
Present.
Vice Chair Kathy Margolotti,
Incorrect.
PCS. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Chair Kathy Margolotti
Present.
and Commissioner Gina Griggs.
Here.
Are we? Oh, gosh. I apologize.
We're over here.
Councilmember Mark Joseph.
Here.
Councilmember David Oro.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pierre Washington.
No.
It's not.
Oh, my
there's,
gosh.
Member Washington.
Sorry.
And it's Vice
I'm
Mayor
so out of
Phillips.
sorts. My apologies. It's not popping up correctly on my screen. So I'm like looking at notes that are a little bit old. I'm so sorry. Councilmember Pierre Washington
Here.
and Vice Mayor David Oro.
Here.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Yes, here. Thank you. Okay, do we have any public comment on items not on this agenda? Any hands raised on screen?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. Then we'll close public comment on this on items not on the agenda, and we'll move on to our business item. Park and Community Service Commission work plan for fiscal year 2025.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we are here this evening to discuss our Parks and Community Services Commission's work plan for fiscal year 2024-25. The Commission met on April 11th and May 9th of 2024 to put together the draft work plan, which is before you this evening. Before we get into that draft work plan, we would like to take a moment and celebrate the Commission's accomplishments and hard work of them for this past year. This past year, with the help of our Public Works Department and the American Canyon Community and Parks Foundation, we replaced the playground equipment and surface at Northampton Park, making this the first all-access universal play experience here in Napa County. We celebrated this milestone in August of 2023 at the American Canyon Chamber of Commerce Meet Me in the Streets. We are also buzzing for excitement as we replace the playground equipment and surface at Via Bellagio Park, transforming it into a whimsical bug park. This enchanting play experience sparked creativity and joy with all of our families here in AC. In addition, we transformed Linwood Park by replacing the play equipment and surface, where toddlers can now explore in a Midi-City theme, with pint-sized buildings filled with music, sensory, and adventure. We also added a rope climber for the older explorers, and that include a new play box and enhanced ADA ramp into that play feature. We celebrated in April with the ribbon cutting ceremony with our permanent concrete skate park at Veterans Memorial Park. This state-of-the-art park amenity features a big bowl, a mini bowl, ramps, curbs, and so much more. The Adult Activity Center received a little refresh with this past spring with an upgrade to our floors throughout the facility. And just as of yesterday, we replaced the closet doors. In the main assembly room, where we can now have proper storage area where things can be stored and secured within the facility. As we look forward, we have several projects underway and making great progress. Our outdoor education space and native garden at the wetlands is currently under design. The installation of the park restroom at Northampton Park, Silver Oak Park, and Wetlands Edge Preserve are under design. The installation of a shade canopy at Northampton Park is under design. And the Newell open space, parking lot, and trail improvements are under design. Additionally, the Commission updated the Parks and Recreation Department fee schedule, which was adopted by Council on March 19, 2024. The Commission provided feedback on the scope of work for the Parks and Community Services Master Plan. The proposal submitted by RRM, a design group, was the most qualified response to the original solicitation. And lastly, the Commission made recommendations for next fiscal year's capital improvement program, which will include the replacement of the playground equipment and surface at Veterans Memorial Park, update the stage electrical at Main Street Park, and review the accessibility access into Main Street Park. Before we get into the work plan, are there any questions about the things that they have accomplished this year? Great. So of page 9, I believe, of your page 12 of your packet is the draft work plan that's before you this evening, which includes 6 items. 1, we'll be updating the Parks and Community Services Master Plan. As mentioned earlier, the Commission has been working with RM Design Group, where we received a scope of work and an estimate. We plan to bring this item back to Council in July for your approval to be able to start this work. Item number 2 is continuing the work of renaming the Community Park 1, Community Park 2, and the former Napa Junction Elementary School. As you recall, this past year we updated the policy, and now the Commission needs to engage with the community to receive recommendations through the application process. We anticipate to start this process in late summer. Staff continues researching the American Canyon history by interviewing prominent individuals who have made a significant impact in the shape of American Canyon from 1992 to present day. Number 3, the Commission recommends reviewing the utilization of city parks for community events and groups. Number 4, update the municipal code for the skate park. Since we have moved the skate park, we would like to review the rules of this park and make sure that they are up to date and following best practices for this type of facility. Number 5, provide input on design for park projects for the capital improvement program. And lastly, develop recommendations for park projects and future capital improvement programs. This concludes my staff report. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Comments from council? Or questions?
Well, I guess some of it is more generic. How do we want to take advantage of this joint session? I mean, if it's just to review the work plan, that's one thing. But in my head, it's an opportunity for the council and the commissioners to talk, to discuss what's important from our perspective, what's important from theirs, get a good dialogue to just kind of brainstorm things that aren't necessarily scheduled for the next 12 months, but areas we want to go. I guess part of it would be let's have a big picture discussion and include the commissioners and the council so that we're all on the same page. So that's my interest
Right.
at the bigger level, and then obviously I have comments about the specifics.
Vice Mayor Orl?
Yeah, I would agree with Council Member Joseph. But first, I'd want to acknowledge the good work that was done with last year. I want to say that, the work that we did with parks in particular, I think, has been great. I mean, we're improving the smaller parks. I've talked for the last couple of years about doing some of the big things, which has been improving Watson Ranch, Green Island Road industrial area, the Broadway district-specific plan. And as we got those things approved, the council looked at each other and said, what are we going to do next? Well, there's a bunch of small stuff that we need to do. And we've been doing that. And I think it's those incremental wins that actually makes a bigger impact for us over time. So whatever we can do to repeat that, let's do it again, do it better. But I do want to acknowledge the good work of that. And I do want to have an open discussion and hear from the commissioners as well.
As I look at what has been accomplished over time, a phenomenally good work is much of the needs of the community have been met with that. Certainly, there's more areas to work on. I would be interested in what feedback you hear from community members on that. Certainly, there's issues with like ball playing fields areas like that. Skateboard park is a huge achievement. The amenities at Northampton and Via Bellagio, those are also much in the improvement for the community. The Adult Activity Center is another good one. But we build these on concept of what we think the community needs, what we hear from feedback, but how do we collect that information is an important thing to do on an ongoing basis. And you're front line on all that work out there. I really thank you for the efforts you have put into it. It's a commitment to make sure things are better for the community. But I think there's certainly areas. What would you like to explore? I think make it more an open session here. I'm happy that because I live next to Northampton Park, there's a shade screen going up. That's great because there's a lot of families down there now, and you put in that new playground in there. It's busy, so amenities there need to be improved as well. And finally, it gets down to how much money we got. What's the budget say? But there's opportunity, I'm sure, for a lot of community input, and certainly basketball is huge over in that area, as it is all throughout the city, and pickleball has grown. And I do an evening walk past the Elliott Street Park, and last night it was pickleball by flashlight. I thought, that should be closed by now, but, it's a group of young kids. They have more energy. Further comments? Oh, I didn't see your hand there, sorry. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I like to echo what Councilmember Oral and Councilmember Joseph mentioned, that we appreciate all the things that the Parks and Communication Services have been doing. I reached out to all of you last month and kind of made a promise that I would do a better job communicating with you more closely. I do see you guys around town. You guys are very active, so I appreciate all the things that you're doing. And like Councilmember Joseph mentioned, I'd like to hear what you guys could think that we could probably do to make your jobs a little bit better, easier, or become more informative and be more available to you when you have questions. I like this forum. I think this is an opportunity for us to have that dialogue, and look forward to anything that we can do or I can do to be a resource.
Comments from commissioners? Your turn.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm kind of excited because I didn't know we were going to get a chance to participate. I would have a more extensive list if I had been, previously informed, but I can think on the fly. So I'm very proud of us and all the work that we have done this past year. We have made a lot of improvements, and it's been a lot of fun to see those projects come to fruition. It's one of my absolute favorite things, is to see projects come to fruition and see the kids playing on the equipment at Meet Me in the Street at Northampton Park, and just know that they're having a great time, and that park being all-inclusive is fantastic. Director Akita has led our charge very, very well. She's our fearless leader, and she has made a lot of headway in a lot of areas, which I am very grateful for. So that being said, Parks is all about fun and play, and so I always come back to we want everybody to play and have fun, but you can't do that unless you're safe. And so my mind goes to overall safety and overall city and overall community safety. And the things that come to mind are working drinking fountains at all our parks so that there is accessible water, permanent bathrooms at all our parks so that people have restroom facilities, proper lighting. If lights are out, nobody wants to play pickleball by flashlight, proper ground lighting because, you know, it's especially at this time of year, it stays light late and people like to walk their dogs and you can see because it's late until almost 9 o'clock. But in the winter, those dogs, mine, still need to be walked. And I'm out there at 5:30 at night and it's dark and I can't see. So living in Vintage Ranch, I now enjoy walking through Watson Ranch because the trees aren't as developed. So the street lights actually shine down on the sidewalk and I can see where I'm walking. But I think as our neighborhoods age and those trees grow and develop, they're blocking the street lights. And so then you can't actually see where your footing is. And then just general dog safety, I think, comes to mind. I see a lot of people walking their dogs not necessarily on leash, and I feel that is not a safe thing. I think more community education surrounding that is important. And then there's also no trash cans all throughout Watson Ranch. So I have to carry that bag for a long ways. So those are the things that I hear. Also safety in the fields, Shenandoah Park, Community Park 1, Community Park 2, just maintaining the fields and making sure that it's safe for the kids to be running around, playing volleyball, playing soccer, whatever they're doing. Shenandoah Park especially is very high use for all of those activities. And it's so great to see everybody out there. And they are doing a great job maintaining the softball fields. My husband has played softball this season, has enjoyed it greatly. You can come watch him pitch on Sunday if you want. So anyway, it's great. I love being part of this commission. I love the focus on parks and play and improving everything for our community. Oh, and the pool. I would love to make it an aquatic center, like add some fun stuff, expand it, you know, wherever we can there. I would love to see that come about as well. Good thing I didn't have time to make a list, huh?
Well, thank you for the input.
I don't have as long of a off the fly list. Definitely happy. It's nice to see things being accomplished. That feels good. I think it's good for the community. I think the community really enjoys that as well as having that long list of projects that never does get finished. So it's nice that there's a dedicated funding source that we can repair and do some replacement and then getting some grants and different things. So I think that's huge. I still hear a lot about accessibility and some of the places where that might be the case would be like in the LLAD areas. And so I think that, you know, like Main Street Park, that is an LLAD. And I know there's been discussion, but I know it's not so easy to just do that because the funding is through that. So I think that's definitely something that needs to be a priority on the radar is that accessibility. I know we talked about that last year as well, but that LLAD part would be the tricky part. Restrooms are huge. And I hear that and see that a lot when I'm watching things on social media. And definitely the pool is a big priority, I know, for looking forward in the size of our community and making sure we meet the needs of our still growing community, that that pool fits that. And I guess those would be the things that I come off the top of my head. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, I'll echo the same thing. I mean, Director Akeda has done a great job guiding this group, and I will say this group works really well together. The rhythm, the cadence, the analysis, the discussions that we have during the commission meetings are all driven to with the impetus of improvement, right? And that's what we constantly are looking at on how can we improve either accessibility, scope and range of programs that we offer, and affordability, right? I mean, we want to maintain and engage all ages and at all price points for our community, but then still be invitive, but yet a little bit restrictive of outside the community. So meaning people from Vallejo or Napa County still have access to our facilities, but at a different price point. So that's something we've taken really strong consideration into. you've heard restrooms, that's a big one. You've heard about the pool, that's another big one. I think something else that I really value is the connectivity between the city and how to navigate through the city. As this city grows, the sidewalks, the bike trail improvements, I know that's transportation stuff, but that's important because getting from one park to the next park should be easy and accessible for all. You shouldn't necessarily have to drive to get where you need to go. I think the biking part is really nice, but even the walking trails and the aesthetics of the walking trails are nice. I think Gina hit it on the head where there needs to be not just downlighting, but maybe some uplighting or something like that along the trails because people do walk their pets or they do navigate through the city at night as well. I think one of the questions I would have, because this commission is going to change for next year, unfortunately, is the long-term plans for how this commission operates with the new Watkin Ranch projects that are coming up. I know there'll be new parks and new ideas that will be happening there, and what our involvement really is with that. I know there's still plenty of work for us to do on the small projects and the refinement projects. And again, Director Ikeda has done a wonderful job guiding us through that. But this is my second year now on this commission. I foresee myself here for a while. I'm curious about the future planning and what that's going to look like and how our involvement will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, Mayor and council members. I've been on the commission for over 10 years, and I have just really I've gained a good perspective on how things have changed. We have, this department has, and the commission have definitely gained a level of sophistication and also mindfulness for the things that are happening in our world in terms of accessibility. The parks at Northampton is a great example, and I know that was, the spark that led to that was a family with special needs kids. Mm-hmm. And so, that's been a beautiful thing. We have to be cognizant of climate change and how that, and the way we react to that, the way we make things better for our residents is more shade structures. So we're definitely doing that. I think a niche comment that I want to make is kind of as a newer member of the Gateway Award group, and I know there are other Gateway Award winners here, and we had a wonderful event a couple months ago, anointing a new Gateway Award winner. But I hope that we kind of continue connectivity with the city on making that. I don't think it's a secret that there might be some grumpy great gators out there who recognize that things are changing and things are not the way they were. We have to communicate to them that things will never be the way they are because things are constantly changing, but to kind of increase that connectivity and working together. Obviously, if we don't recognize our past, well, we're doomed to make those mistakes, etc. So, and been doing really good work, but those, we see you out there at the events, and we're, your friends and you're our friends, and let's just continue our conversations in both this formal way, but also in our informal ways. So that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Council, want to respond or ask questions? I think Councilmember Joseph, you had some ideas you wanted to share.
I'm always opinionated. Well, first of all, I appreciate all your comments, and I apologize for not starting off saying good job for the last year. My excuse will be that I'm always forward-looking, I don't look back. So I don't think of what we've done, only what we can do. And if you buy that, I appreciate it. I'll work on better ones next year. I do appreciate your input right here. I apologize if you thought you were just going to stand here or sit here and we'd make announcements and you'd walk off. But from my perspective, the whole point of a joint session is really the interplay, the back and forth communication. So I appreciate it. And Commissioner Griggs, I'm glad you didn't have that because we would have been here longer than I would have been talking. So we leave it with that. So I think these are all good things. I like the idea that we need to focus on safety and all the different aspects of it, because you're right, everything kind of falls apart if you hurt yourself having a good time. So I think that's a good point. I think the idea that we're beginning to create a dedicated funding stream so that we can actually be realistic about saying, yes, we need to do this and this and this, and now you're in the arena of saying, okay, we'll have to wait 2 years before we have enough money versus there isn't any money, so just give up hope kind of thing. So I'm glad we are kind of moving in that right direction. So I'm very positive and happy about the way things are going. Moving to the work plan itself, generally supportive. The renaming of facilities has taken longer than I hoped, particularly as it relates to the old Napa Junction Elementary School, because what I see happening is it's becoming known as the Napa Junction Community Center. And if that's the direction you want to go in, great. But at this point, if it takes too long, people will wonder, why are you changing the name? As for community parks, we've been lobbied a little bit about some ideas, and all that's great. They've been known as Community Park, which is about as generic you can get. So changing that name, I think, would be a godsend. So I would encourage us to move forward on that sooner rather than later. And then my last pitch, as I mentioned to the city manager, on Main Street Park, I understand making it more ADA compliant is certainly a priority, and then some. But I think if we look at that as a possible open-air venue, and as you're designing it, in addition to the electrical upgrades, look at it as what relatively inexpensive add-ons can we provide to make it easier as an outdoor venue. I mean, we know Juneteenth is out there. There could be other free open-air performances and things. So as you're looking at that particular park, please look at some of those elements, or encourage some of the stakeholders that might know that park better than others, to encourage them when the time comes to invite them to your commission meeting and solicit input from them. So that's my tip from the top, as the saying went. But otherwise, I'm pleased with the direction that we're going. I'm happy that we're moving forward. I think the small balls, as Vice Mayor Oro put it a few years back, really aren't that small at all. They're big things. They're just pale in comparison to building Watson Ranch and renovating the downtown, but they're still critical, and they kind of make or break the sense of community. So good job.
Well, they goes a long ways toward meeting amenities for the community. That was going to be one of my comments too, was the Main Street Park. Certainly access to the bottom of the park is, if you've been out there, that's a real challenge. Actually, in some areas, it's a safety issue. You can see where people are just cutting across into, it's a trip and fall potential. I nearly did it one year. But no, we used to have movies in the park. We had a lot of music events there, and it really lends itself to that type of theater. Can't help but think that maybe there on Marla, the park is another opportunity there to explore that. But it was, I think, in January when it was full of water. I saw two girls out there one Saturday in a kayak in their swimsuits. loading it in the back of a pickup truck because I think they had enough of the cold, wet, and water. But, it does get a lot of people walk the perimeter. 4 laps equals a mile type of thing. So there's some health benefits to that. Those are things to look at. But I think the gathering point for community, contacting community, there's opportunities with PTO, PTAs. There's where you meet families. Faith communities is another place where you meet families. Opportunities for volunteers. It may not be directly related to park activities, but some years ago I had a group of volunteers from a faith community. It's called sheet composting. All the goat heads that punctured bicycle tires along the community park area there. Well, some of that's still covered, and that's probably about 7 years old or so. But and that effort took about maybe 20 guys on a Saturday and a load of chips and cardboard, and it was all done. And people feel like, I've contributed something to a community. And I think people who have an opportunity to contribute something to a community park or place where we have gatherings, it's like access to the wetlands. When you're able to get out there, that means something to you as an individual, and that means something to all of us as a community because now we share this with everybody. And it's a family experience as well. Vice Mayor Oro.
Thank you. I know that the Parks and Community Services Master Plan, from the packet, it says it's coming to us in July. Is that correct? Just the bill. Oh, just the bill.
Consultant contract.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yes, we will approve that to do that. So that's the consultant contract, and then that is when the commission begins to work on that. And can you just give us a quick overview of what that whole plan is and how that may guide the council and the commission?
Sure, thank you. So the plan is to have a consultant help us with the update to the master plan, and that will include multiple community engagement opportunities, from open houses to surveys, to us being out in the community at events, asking what the community would like to see in that master plan pertaining to park elements, areas of programs that they want us to focus on. Within that process, they are going to bring a draft back to the commission. I believe at least twice, both to PCS and once to OSATs, because there will be an open space element to that. And then that draft plan will be brought to the council, and then there will be comments that will be collected from all the commissions and council and the community, and then the final draft will be brought back to this body, to the council for approval.
So it's a 2-year process, probably?
It's about 18 months, typically, to be able to update a true master plan.
Yeah, so in terms of this work plan, I think it's generally fine, but I think it's important that's a heavy lift. And I think the things that I heard from you guys today about accessibility, connectivity, safety, bathrooms, aquatic center, that is where your input and work is going to really matter, in addition to community input. And I know that process actually works, even though it takes a long time. The Broadway district-specific plan went through a similar process where we looked at this whole corridor, highway corridor, and what we wanted out of that. And it was even before I was on council. I was just a regular citizen providing input into that and sat along with Beth on that and coming to these meetings. You'll want to drive people to that and to participate in that process. It's super valuable because I know that things that Beth said to me is actually in the Broadway district specific plan because she told it to everybody else. And you actually have to, you actually get good input into that. So keep those big themes in mind. And I think the consultants will actually help guide that conversation and that direction. And so please take advantage of that. But generally overall with this plan, I think it's good. I would also just add to continue to see where we can, and on behalf of Councilmember Abodamos, continuing to improve more of those West Side parks, because I think we did it at Linwood. You know, and I got tagged on Facebook from a resident that lives close by, and her granddaughter is just using it and loving it already. That park was pretty decrepit beforehand, and it looks really cool right now. And there's a lot of smaller parks that are on that side that we could easily do work on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Hawley?
Can I clarify, ask a little more about the master plan? We talked about the process, but so we would see a discussion about recreational programming elements, park facility and amenity elements, as well as open space, and then filtered through that safety prism of, you know, how do you upgrade your facilities and programming? Okay, good.
Yeah, and then just one last question. When was the last time we did this?
Oh gosh, I think it was 2011 is when our plan was originally drafted, and it was drafted by PCS, OSAC, and members of the community. So they actually wrote that master plan. So the various members of the community participated in that, drafting that plan.
Okay. And then the last piece to any plan is its implementation. So presumably there would be some ballpark cost estimates so that we can sit down and say, okay, here's what we're going to need to make it all happen and how long. Good, good. Nothing better than an implementation to a plan. Thank you.
The only thing I wanted to add, Mayor, was just recognition. We did have a youth commissioner on PCS last year, and school's over now, so they're not at tonight's meeting. And we will intend on having a youth commissioner again next year on all of our commissions. And then there was a question about, how do the new parks in Watson Ranch fit in with this body? And the PCS will be involved in the design of those parks. There's still a few years out. There's some mass grading that's happening now on the big community park, but any kind of final design, any sort of concepts will involve PCS. It's not going to be this next fiscal year, though. And part of what will be happening as a part of that master plan, we'll be hearing from the community about what's the desired amenities and needs, and then how does that space fit into it. It's a 10-acre parcel. It's rectangular. It'll be sloping, so it has certain utilities. And then we're also, as a part of Watson Ranch, we'll be getting a more uniquely triangle-shaped parcel that's going to have a lot more constraints on it, but still with a community purpose in mind and recreation purpose in mind. So 2 opportunities inside of Watson Ranch, clean slate with those, so it's kind of exciting. But at the same time, funding for that, what the community need is, and so forth. So there will be the role of PCS in that. It's just not going to be in the next fiscal year.
Council ready for public comment?
Yes, sir.
I do have one speaker card, Yvonne Baginski. That was for OSATs.
No speaker cards? Nobody online?
Can I respond to the naming?
There are no hands raised online.
Okay. No hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Councilmember Joseph, you did ask about the renaming and indicating that you were hoping that it would move about more quickly than it has, and we agree. We are really anxious and wanting to get to that process, but first we had to update the policy, and then we had to wait for it to go through the policy approval process and get approved, and then here we are. So that is the delay, but we would like to rename it as well.
Cool.
Sooner
Thank
than
you.
later.
Work in progress. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, I would add just to that, thank you for approving that, because the process would have been multi-step in order to make that happen. And not that this rushes anything, it does still involve the process of community involvement, community input, as Vice Mayor Oro was mentioning. But yeah, we are anxious to get to that process, so we're ready to do that as well too.
Very good. Okay, if there's no other public comment is closed on this matter now. Well, no, I asked for public comment, so, but if you have, no, I was going to close it because there was no response to public comment. So if you'd like to comment, please do.
Park. Brenda Knight used to have music there, and it was wonderful. She had up on the top portion of it, and it was really nice. I'd like to see something like that come back again. And also, that park doesn't have a lot of use, and it's too bad that you couldn't, in the wintertime, put ice skating in there. Because they do it up in Napa. They have ice skating, so just a thought.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. We do have an action on this item. Council?
Well, yeah,
That's it.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to adopt the minute order number 2024. Next in order, a minute order of the City Council of the City of American Canyon approving the Parks and Community Services Commission's work plan for fiscal year 2024-25.
I'll second that.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember no, that's not right either. Councilmember Joseph,
Yes.
Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes, thank you. Good to get together with you. Good discussion this evening. And thank you for the work you're doing.
During this meeting?
This meeting for Community Services, Parks and Community Services Commission is adjourned. We will now move on to the Special Joint City Councilman Open Space, Active Transportation, and Sustainability Commission meeting.